All right, bowl season is here. Moving on to Friday night, our first New Year's Six bowl game of the season. You got the Orange Bowl and two orange teams. You got Tennessee taking on Clemson. They're in Miami. Clemson right now is a 6-point favorite. That's up a little bit from 5.5 I've seen throughout the week. Total has stayed pretty steady at 63.5. That's where I'm going to look in this game. Over 63.5 is an official one-unit play for me. First, right off the bat, Tennessee is not at full strength right now. Obviously, Hendon Hooker with the season-ending knee injury. But what you might not know, Tennessee's top two receivers, Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, both opted out of this game. So I could understand the argument that Tennessee is not at full strength here, and maybe that's why you can't trust them. But listen, I think Tennessee is just a very system-based team. Josh Heupel is going to run at a maniacally fast pace, one of the fastest paces in the country. This is a team that's going to use tempo to their advantage, and they're going to try to take shots off of that tempo they use. What do we know about Clemson this year? If there's one thing you could pick on them defensively, it's that secondary. And we just saw it a few weeks ago when they got torched by Spencer Rattler and South Carolina. But remember back earlier in the season, Wake Forest, Sam Hartman just absolutely torched that defense as well. So some of the better teams they played this year, the better quarterbacks, the better systems, have been able to take advantage of that secondary. But I do think Joe Milton, he's a boomer bust player. He honestly just personifies what Tennessee is as a team. They're hit or miss, they're boomer bust, but when you run as many plays as Tennessee's going to run in this game, I do think Tennessee gets into the 30s here. I mean, Joe Milton's a guy, he's not your typical backup. He might have one of the strongest arms in college football. But when we've seen him this year, albeit in limited action, over 13 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and really over the course of his career, he's at 8.5 yards per attempt. He's not played as bad as I think some people would make him out to. Flipping over to the other side of the matchup, Tennessee's defense is literally boomer bust. We've seen that secondary all year, whether it be South Carolina, Anthony Richardson at Florida threw all over that defense as well. Obviously, Bryce Young in Alabama. That is a below average unit for the Vols. What do they do to combat that? They bring a lot of pressure. They know that they don't have the guys, the Jimmies and the Joes in that back end. So they're going to send a lot of pressure. They're going to try to confuse Cade Klubnik in this spot. Quite frankly, I do think that could have some success. I could see Cade Klubnik turn the ball over 1-2 times in this matchup. Tennessee is probably going to get some sacks here, but on the plays where they don't get home, I think Cade Klubnik should have a field day. I mean, he's clearly an upgrade over DJ Uiagalelei. I think we saw that pretty clearly in the ACC championship. I mean, this is a pretty similar matchup, at least from a passing standpoint, because Tennessee does defend the run well, and you have to give them that. But secondary is pretty clearly their weakness. And I know the sample size isn't there for Cade Klubnik, but you would have to think that Dabo Swinney is going to know what buttons to push to really combat some of that pressure that Clemson's going to receive from Tennessee. I honestly think Klubnik alone should throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game. That doesn't, even account for what we might get from Will Shipley on the ground here. So I'm going to say it again. The pace that Tennessee runs at, 63.5 for a Tennessee game is a low total. Even with Hooker out, even with Hyatt and Tillman out, this is a system. Just because those guys are out, the same principle applies. They're going to run at a maniacally fast pace. They're going to hit their deep shots through the air offensively, and they're going to give up a lot of deep shots defensively. We've seen this formula all year, especially in some of their tougher matchups. And quite frankly, I think we see it here. So over 63.5 is an official one-unit play for me here in the Orange Bowl. I actually think Tennessee can win this game. Like I said, Cade Klubnik is clearly going to have some success in this game just because of the matchup. But I think over time, I do think Tennessee is going to force him into some mistakes and get some pressure on him. He's still a young player. I'm just higher on Joe Milton than most. I don't think the career numbers really warrant some of the criticism he's gotten, both at Michigan and now at Tennessee. I think he's a perfectly capable player. He's got a huge arm. I think we're going to see that throughout this game. He's going to hit on some explosive plays. So I actually would lean towards Tennessee plus the 6. I'm not going to worry about the side, though. Tennessee's a very high variance team with that pace. Just a wide range of results you're going to get. In my opinion, makes it hard to bet a side on some of their games. I'm not going to worry about that. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. So over 63.5 is an official one-unit play for me.